If you just joined, again, sorry about for the raspy voice. I'm a little under the weather. Um, but yeah, hopefully it'll clear up soon. So let me turn it up. This is The World Peace Diet by Dr. Tuttle. It's a bestseller on Amazon. Eating for Spiritual Health and Social Harmony. And I want to read from the preface rather, really quickly, to let you know kind of what's going on. And then I'm talking a little bit about some of the things that you see in the bibliography and whatnot, in the table of contents rather, that are pretty amazing. I think worth talking about. So, our meals, the hidden key to understanding. This book is an attempt to illuminate our culture's story and to present and out the outline of a more empowering understanding of our world. The key to this understanding lies in comprehending the far-reaching implications of our food choices and the worldview they both reflect and mandate. At first glance, it may seem unlikely that such a potent key could be found in the pedestrian place that food occupies in our culture. But if we look closely, we begin to realize that our shared cultural reality is profoundly affected by the attitudes, beliefs, and practices surrounding food. There are amazing, unrecognized social, psychological, and spiritual consequences to our meals that ripple throughout all aspects of our lives. Food is actually our most intimate and telling connection both with the natural order and with our living cultural heritage. Through eating the plants and animals of this earth, we literally incorporate them, and it is also through this act of eating that we partake of our culture's values and paradigms at the most primal and unconscious levels. As children, through constant exposure to the complex patterns of beliefs surrounding our most elaborate group ritual, eating food, we ingested our culture's values and invisible assumptions. Like sponges, we learned, we noticed, we partook, and we became acculturated. Now as adults, finding our lives beset with stress and a range of daunting problems of our own making, we rightly yearn to understand the source of our frustrating inability to live in harmony on this earth. When we look deeply enough, we discover a disturbing force that is fundamental in generating our dilemmas and crises. A force that is not actually hidden at all, but is staring up at us every day from our plates. It has been lying undiscovered all along in the most obvious of places. It is our food. While debates rage over which diets are best in terms of health and longevity, this book is not about diet in this usual sense, but is an exploration of the profound cultural and spiritual ramifications of our food choices and the mentality underlying them. By placing humans at the top of the planet's food chain, our culture has historically perpetrated a particular worldview that requires from its members a reduction of essential feelings and awareness, and it is this process of desensitization that we must understand if we would comprehend the underlying causes of oppression, exploitation, and spiritual disconnectedness. When we practice eating for spiritual health and social harmony, we practice making certain essential connections that our culturally induced food rituals normally require us to block from awareness. This practice is an essential prerequisite for evolving to a state of consciousness where peace and freedom are possible. We are in the midst of a profound cultural transformation. It is becoming increasingly obvious that the old mythos underlying our culture is collapsing. We are realizing that its core assumptions are obsolete and, if followed further, will result not only in the ecological devastation of our planet's intricate and delicate systems, but in our self-destruction as well. A new mythos affirming cooperation, freedom, peace, life, and unity is struggling to be born to replace the old mythos based on competition, separateness, war, exclusion, and the idea that might makes right. Food is a critical key to this birth because our food habits condition our mentality profoundly, and because meals are the primary way our culture replicates and promulgates its value system through us. Whether this birth of a new mythos and more evolved spirituality and consciousness is successful will depend on whether we can transform our understanding and practice of food. So that's as much as I'll read of the preface. And I didn't want to Kanye it the whole time, but there were so many good points to bring up here. Then I really love the way Dr. Tuttle speaks on it. Obviously, our food habits condition our mentality profoundly. I think, at least for me, it wasn't until recently that I really thought about how much every time we eat food, we make a statement about the food we're eating, particularly when it involves other beings being killed for our food, and what that says about it. But I think one of the great chapters that Dr. Tuttle has, if you get this book, that you should check out, one of the most profound is the domination of the feminine. This is amazing. Obviously, he touches on the dairy nightmare, the idea of dairy, you know, so this is for vegetarians who's sometimes think that just cutting back on meat alone, you know, is maybe enough. There's a lot to be said about what goes on with dairy as well as eggs. And that whole idea, even just as you go a step up or down, however you look at it from it, this idea that the feminine aspect of these animals to produce milk and eggs. And if we look at how that mindset then maybe creeps up into our own world, if we examine the systems of patriarchy that attempt to dominate the feminine power even within our own human sphere, whether you're talking about issues of birth control or women's reproductive systems, etc., I think it's quite telling, and there's a lot to look at and examine there. Anyway, I hope this reading was helpful, and if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll cut off Periscope, and we'll have another reading later sometime. Thank you so much for joining today. Cheers.